Welcome into the Farzy Show, everybody. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Great to have you along for this fine ride in our maiden voyage on our first simulcast with Jacob Media. For those watching now on Jacob Media, as opposed to just Farzy Show YouTube channel, welcome in. Hope you enjoy the whole experience. We got Phillies opening day to get into. We got the 76ers coming up with a nice win, snapping a 3-game losing streak to the Dallas Mavericks last night. Nice 10-0 run in the midway point of that fourth quarter that really helped them cement that victory. And we got Jody McDonald, not just of Birds 365 fame, ladies and gentlemen, but WIP, CBS Sports Radio, and the man is a great baseball mind. So who better to have on this program for our first show that's also the simulcast on Jacob Media than Jody McDonald, to give him the opportunity to talk some baseball. A lot of baseball rattling around in that brain of his. So we'll talk about this Phillies upcoming season and just how damn exciting it is to have baseball back, especially with a guy like Trey Turner going to be leading off for this Phillies team. Kyle Schwarber hitting behind him, hopefully driving him in a ton of times throughout this season. And I'll talk about some great expectations that we have for some guys on this squad, like Nick Castellanos, for instance, and Alec Boehm. While we're waiting for Bryce Harper to come back, while we're waiting to see what happens with Derek Hall at first base, whether or not the Phillies are going to give him a sink or swim opportunity this season to fill in for Rhys Hoskins every day against righties and lefties. We want to see if Alec Boehm has really added that pop to his bat that he has shown in spring training. We want to see if Nick Castellanos is going to have a bounce back year. And we also want to see whether or not Aaron Nola is going to go in and go throughout this season playing it as if it is a contract year throughout. They say no negotiations as the season starts. We'll see if they hold to that. I doubt it. But let's start things off here with the 76ers and what went on last night in South Philadelphia. This was, if you watched it, this was an ugly game. There was no fluidity to this game for the vast majority of it for the 76ers. 3/4 of it, it stunk. It stank. It was awful. You saw turnovers from James Harden. You saw turnovers from Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris. George Niang started to get hot a little bit from beyond the arc, which was great to see. DeAnthony Melton had a fast break. It was a 3-on-1. Couldn't figure out what the hell to do with the basketball. Ended up missing the layup. He ended up getting a 3 on the possession as it stayed with the Sixers as it went out of bounds. So all's well that ends well, I guess. But overall, the Sixers could not make a good decision to save their lives last night against the Dallas Mavericks. And then the fourth quarter happened. Tyrese Maxey had a couple of great driving layups for you. You had Joel Embiid continue to score with great prowess. Not the 30-point game that we're used to seeing from Joel Embiid, but still, as him and James Harden came back into this lineup, you saw that they had to shake off the rust just a little bit. And when you had that 10-0 run in the fourth quarter, James Harden only assisted on every one of those points as he finished with a double-double, 15 points, 12 rebounds. Nice to see the Sixers get back from the rough road trip where they did, in fact, get roughed up a little bit. Little disappointment with Joel Embiid not playing against Joker, as we all know, but they stepped right back into the swing of things last night, especially in that fourth quarter. They handled their business. At this point, I don't even pay attention to the playoff seeding anymore. We had Paul Reed on the show last week, and he said they're definitely paying attention to it. I don't think they catch the Celtics by season's end. 7 games left on the year. They got one more game against the Celtics, which is huge. They got a huge game coming up against the Bucks. I don't see them, if they are prioritizing health and where their standing is just with health and not the actual NBA standings, then I don't see them catching the Celtics, because I don't see Joel Embiid playing the amount of minutes he played last night. I don't see James Harden playing the amount of minutes I saw him play last night, and I certainly don't see them playing in every single game as the season winds down. Health is the number one priority for the Sixers team going forward. Now, as far as how rough it did look for the Sixers last night, I'm not alone in my assessment of the way they played 2.5, 3 full quarters of basketball. It turns out their head coach, Doc Rivers, was none too pleased with the way, or none too impressed with the way the Sixers started out that game. Here's Doc post-game.
Losing 3 in a row. Like, we just feel like we're a good team. We went through a tough road trip, had guys, had a health problem. There was no confidence leakage. We didn't play well tonight, and we won a game. That's the biggest thing. Like a year ago, we don't win that game. Couldn't find it, didn't have energy, had no spacing, the ball wasn't moving, couldn't defend, was losing. I have a whole list, and then usually that sounds like a guy that lost the game. We won the game.
We sucked, but we still got the W. So we'll take that as a confidence builder. One of the things he was talking about earlier on in the press conference was how they lost 3 in a row, but nobody was hanging their heads. Nobody felt like this was going to spiral out of control and they were going to go on some epic losing streak to end the season. And all of a sudden forget about worrying about catching the Celtics. We got to worry about being passed by the Cleveland Cavaliers. Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team you've handled pretty well this season. No one's panicking. No one's rushing. No one's making those mistakes. They worked out the bugs in the early goings of the game against the Mavs, and they rolled on to a victory in that fourth quarter, which was great. And something was said last night, actually, in Kevin Durant's debut with the Phoenix Suns that I thought applied to the Sixers. Monty Williams, old Sixers assistant coach there, sees his new toy, Kevin Durant, struggling 0 for 6 to start out the game. Roughest stretch he's had this season. And you have Kevin Durant starting out that game with that rough stretch, and Monty Williams comes over to him, and he sees Kevin Durant just shaking his head. And Monty Williams says, hey, greatness doesn't shake its head. You can knock that off. Kevin Durant goes on, has himself a pretty nice debut there with the Suns. Same thing applies to the Sixers team, although I wouldn't put them up in that upper echelon of great, but they're a lot better than losing 3 in a row. They're sure as hell a lot better than dropping down to a 4th seed, which I again, don't see them doing. But you can't shake your head. You can only shake it off and move forward. Look forward to the Sixers being able to do that after the 116-108 win over the Dallas Mavericks last night. One thing I did see that was interesting at the end of this game, Joel Embiid had a key block on Luka Doncic late in the game that helped the Sixers' momentum continue, which was great to see. So you saw that. And then after the game, they're dabbing it up. They're having themselves a nice little conversation. Hey, all I'm going to say is, and it looked like it was beyond the good game. It looked like Joel Embiid was whispering sweet nothings into his ear. There was some conversation. The Sixers even tweeted out the video, if you want to check it out on the Sixers Twitter page. But they even tweeted out the video of Luka and Joel having a little conversation beyond the, hey, good game. Hey, this was fun. Hey, great run, whatever. Could it have been the first step in a recruitment of Luka Doncic? I don't know. All I know is if stuff hits the fan this year and the Sixers get bounced out in the second round again, not going to get bounced out in the first round. I'm not even going to say that. But if they have struggles in the playoffs again and they don't make a deep run into the playoffs, don't make it out of the second round, and the aesthetics are also terrible, does James Harden really come back here? We've already had 2 separate reports out there about James Harden not coming back to Philadelphia, not wearing out his welcome, but Doc Rivers wearing on him. Playing with Joel Embiid, maybe not the easiest thing for him, even though he's only leading the league in assists while Joel Embiid leads the league in points. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But maybe Joel makes his push for Luka after the Embiid Harden era is over. Maybe the Embiid Luka. I don't know how it happens. But it seems like the players decide everything in the NBA. Just saying is all. So the Sixers next up, they got the Toronto Raptors tomorrow night, 7:00. That's also a home game in South Philadelphia. Baseball season is upon us. Phillies decided on opening day eve to make a trade for another defensive center fielder. I thought Brandon Marsh was here, but a right-handed bat. Now you have a left-handed bat. You have Christian Pache comes in to play center field for the Phillies. Utility guy, replacement guy, underachieving prospect. Comes over here by way of the Oakland A's, was also playing for the Braves, was part of the trade that sent Olsen over there to the Braves last year, 2 years ago now. So the Phillies made a trade for another center fielder. It's Brandon Marsh's job to lose. Let's not get crazy here. But he had his struggles against left-handed pitching last year, did Brandon Marsh. And you're not making a trade for Pache for his bat. you're having another defensive replacement there in center field. I don't know if Brandon Marsh is going to need a defensive replacement later in games, but maybe you are going up against a tough righty, or excuse me, a tough lefty, and you want to at least get him some reps, a day off for Brandon Marsh. Maybe you have him play in the corner spots. Who knows? Left field, right field, who knows? But the Phillies made that trade just before the season started. So just be aware. Could be seeing just another new face in that Phillies dugout. The craziest thing to me about this Phillies season, two names jump out. When you talk about guys that are available from jump, I mentioned Derek Hall, and Jody McDonald will talk about his confidence level in Derek Hall coming up in just a second. But when you talk about this team as it stands right now, the two main guys that I'm going to be focusing on, without Rhys Hoskins in the lineup and the lightning rod that he's become, without Bryce Harper in the lineup, I'm going to say until late May, without Bryce Harper in that lineup, the two guys I'm going to be focused in on. I'm going to go ahead and take Trey Turner for granted. I'm going to go ahead and take 40 home runs from Kyle Schwarber for granted. Two guys I'm focusing in on the most this season, Nick Castellanos and Alec Bohm. Alec Bohm had a great spring training. He accidentally gained 10, 15 pounds of muscle. He had been hitting more pop. He had been hitting him healthier. He was in the weight room a little bit more, and somehow magically accidentally gained 10 pounds. Okay. All right. Nick Castellanos struggled mightily last year. 13 home runs. Nothing worth bragging about for the veteran. Comes in here after a 34 home run season with the Reds, an all-star appearance with the Reds. 13 home runs. I mean, 263 isn't a horrible batting average these days anymore, but you'd like a little bit more pop from a guy that you have in the middle of your lineup. And yes, guys in the middle of the lineup, I'm going to be looking a lot more at that batting average, more so than on base percentage. On base percentage is huge. Batting average for guys in the middle of that lineup means they're driving in runs. And that's what I want to see from Nick Castellanos. 262, only 13 home runs, but 63 RBIs last year. All right, that's not terrible with only 13 home runs, but 263, I think you can up that a little bit. But the number that we're going to be staring at for Nick Castellanos this year is that number 13. And when you combine him and Alec Bohm, this is one of the things that I find impressive. He and Alec Bohm last year combined for 29 home runs. I think if you polled most Phillies fans would say that that would be the total for maybe one of those guys this season. If I can make one guarantee, that might be bold for some people, it's that Alec Bohm and Nick Castellanos are going to combine for a far bigger number than 29 home runs this season. And you're going to look at Castellanos and Bohm this year and maybe see one of them hit 29 home runs for this lineup. If you can get 55 to 60 home runs from Castellanos and Bohm combined, throw that on with Schwarber, throw that in on what Trey Turner could do in this ballpark as well. I heard Buster Olney talking about this yesterday, about how Trey Turner could be a 40 home run guy in this ballpark. He could steal 40 bases in this lineup. With the new rules, with the bigger bases, with the new rules, the pickoff attempts allowed, the disengagement, as it's referred to for a pitcher in Major League Baseball's new rules, oh, you could have a huge season from Trey Turner. And I know a lot of people were a little scared about having Kyle Schwarber not bat in the leadoff spot, creatures of habit, whatever you want to say about it. You have issues like that. But when it comes to this Phillies lineup, you can really do some damage, not just with that leadoff solo home run, but how about a leadoff second batter of the game? How about a 1-2 punch? So not necessarily leadoff, obviously, but how about starting the game 2 batters deep, you're up 2-0. That's not bad. That's not bad. Or Kyle Schwarber and his superior eye at the plate. Maybe he works the walk. You already have Trey Turner on first. Now you got a man on you have Trey Turner on second after a stolen base. Kyle Schwarber goes there, and he's on first base. Next thing you know, Nick Castellanos, JT Realmuto, Alec Bohm, whoever it might be, they're driving in runs right out of the gate. Pressure's going to be on. Jacob deGrom starting against Aaron Nola today. 4:10 start time, 4:05 start time for the Philadelphia Phillies as they take on the Texas Rangers. Hit me up in the comments. We do a section for those just joining the show on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Hit me up in the comments. We do a chat check towards the end of the show. We'll get your comments in there. Your bold predictions on the Phillies, I'd love to hear them. And also, do you think Nick Castellanos does have that bounce back year that people talked about so much last year? I think We kind of went to a dark place in our minds last year with Nick Castellanos, and I think one of the things that came out that was a popular thought. There's no way Nick Castellanos only hits 13 home runs next year. Okay, that's optimistic. Let's see if it comes to fruition this year. He was one of the leading RBI guys in spring training. Power numbers weren't great, average wasn't great, but RBI was all right. 10 home runs in the spring, not terrible. Let me tell you about my man Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers, the other corner of 8th and Walnut, right there on Jewelers Row. Trust the man with the perfect price. Now, what's the perfect price? I'll tell you what the perfect price is. The perfect price at Steven Singer Jewelers means there's no haggling, there's no negotiating. You don't have to go in there with that pressure on you. You only have to worry about what beautiful piece of diamond inventory that you want to buy at Steven Singer Jewelers. You'll get treated like a real family member at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. So do what I do. When it comes to your jewelry purchases, trust one man, the man with the perfect price, Steven Singer Jewelers. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Without further ado, let's talk to our friend Jody McDonald. Now, you know him from Birds 365 on Jacob Media with the great Johnny Mac, another Mac and Mac. You know him from WIP Radio. You know him from CBS Sports Radio. The perfect guest to speak to on Phillies opening day. Jody McDonald, ladies and gentlemen, joins the show. The perfect guest. What's up, Jody?
Not a bad place to start for you, Farzetta, on the Jacob Media platform. Know you've been a star on YouTube for years, but thank you very much for putting me on your early Jacob Media appearance of the Farzy Show.
Well, you know, Jody, you are such a phenomenal, I'm not just saying this, a phenomenal baseball mind. I couldn't not have you on my first show on Jacob Media, and it also be opening day and not talk to you. And you do a great job at Burst 365, but I know deep down you just want to talk some baseball.
Kind of in my DNA, seeing as my father was in the game for 50 years and took me to every stadium on the planet. Yeah, I'm pumped up that the baseball season is back, and we got a pretty damn good Phillies team to watch this season.
We certainly do. Let me just start off here. Rhys Hoskins, was looking forward to seeing him in this lineup, as stacked as this lineup is going to be. What are your fair expectations of Derek Hall?
I think he's going to be fine. Is it a drop-off from what Rhys Hoskins can bring them offensively? Yeah, probably a little bit. He's certainly going to strike out a bunch, and Rhys was very good, a guy who could use at the top of the lineup because he gets his fair share of walks and make pitchers work. That's not a Derek Hall strong suit, but I absolutely believe Derek Hall, given 450 at-bats, 500, can go 25 home runs, so the power drop-off is not going to be that great. And oh, by the way, even though I'm a huge Rhys Hoskins fan, my daughter's favorite player, and she's a Philly season ticket holder, they'll be better defensively because Mark Farzetta can play first base better than Rhys Hoskins can. So all off season before Hoskins got hurt, I was asking every Philly guest I could get on, what's the chance of them actually playing Hall at first base and DHing Rhys Hoskins? And everyone's, oh no, he works so hard over first base. He puts in that great up. He stinks at first base. Let's be honest. He's a bad first baseman. So the Phillies will improve defensively with Derek Hall at first base. I do believe that.
All right. Now, do you think it's a sink or swim moment for Derek Hall? Does he play against lefties as well? Is he bad? Are they striving for 150 games out of him? What do you think we get?
I think they're going to give him that chance.
Okay.
I think from month one, April, if it's a really tough lefty and if he's got any track record against a guy just can't flat out hit him, yeah, they'll move Blum over from third base, put him at first, and put Sosa over at third against a really tough lefty. But I think he's going to play against lefties in April. And if he can hold his own, then yeah, I think they got no problems with him being a 145 game a season guy. Now, if he goes 1 for 22 against lefty, yeah, he'll not see lefties at all going forward. And Bowman's going to have to make sure he brings both gloves to the dugout every day, whether it's first or third. But I think they want Hall to be their close to everyday first baseman, and will give him the chance to earn that position against left-handed pitching.
All right, Rhys Hoskins or not, this is still a stacked lineup when you think about it from start to finish, really. It looks like Trey Turner will be a leadoff man. I wanted him to be the leadoff man. I wanted Kyle Schwarber to bat second in that lineup. I love a man on base for him to hit some bombs during the season. What do you make of the lineup that Dave Dombrowski has put together so far?
Good, and Rob Thompson will be a little more challenged this year than he was last year. He had the lineup, and he likes to stick with a lineup if it's working. He's not the kind of manager to move guys around. I actually thought he was a little inflexible last year, even though I love Rob Thompson. He might, by the fact that they have to deal with Hoskins being out of the lineup and the fact that they've got a couple of less than stellar defensive outfielders in right and left, he might have to be a little bit more flexible and be willing to move guys around, which I perfectly believe that he's capable of doing. So I think the Philly lineup will be fun this year because there may be some more moving parts. Trey Turner will be batting leadoff. Yes, we know that. That's good. That's a good, very good starting place. But I think everything else is kind of up for grabs. And I hope and I believe Rob Thompson will be a little more flexible this year and make changes when necessary.
All throughout last year, well, really, I should say in the second half of the season, I started to hear the same thing from just about everybody about Nick Castellanos. And I had the same feeling. There's no way Nick Castellanos only bats 260 and hits, 15 to 20 home runs. There's a lot more power there. Does Nick Castellanos have a bounce back year?
There are a lot of people that believe that's the case. And if you look at it from the it can't get any worse perspective, yes, I think his numbers can and will go up. But back to the Cincinnati numbers he put up, yeah, I'm doubting it. That's just a home run haven. It's a 30 home run park for him. Citizen Bank Park is a good home run hitter's park, but not as good as Cincinnati. He gets to the 20 mark this year. Those who are thinking high 20s or 30s might be a little bit high. I've heard all the stories about he needed to get used to playing in Philadelphia. It's a change in life. When he moved from Detroit to Chicago, he went in and hit about 325 for the Cubs when they rented him one year to try and make a playoff run. So I don't buy the Nick Castellanos needs to get used to his surroundings argument. He'll be better. Will he be all-star level like he was previously in his career? I don't think so. I'm not buying into the optimism as much as others are.
Is there anyone in this lineup, from the position players that you're looking at that you're really curious to see how they fare when the season starts? Anybody out there that you think has some untapped potential to this point?
Oh, yeah. And his name is Alex Bohm. Whether it is mostly at third and some at first, however many of that games to break out. And I hope it doesn't have an adverse effect on him. I've certainly seen players who've been asked to add a position to their resume for flexibility's sake, and they play part-time over there, and they drag it into the batter's box with them. That you never know that. We'll have to judge that about Bohm if he's going to be going back and forth between the two positions. Either way, he has looked very good in spring training. Everyone said before he even showed up, Bohm's put on 10 to 15 pounds of muscle. Look for improved power out of him. And we've seen that in spring training. I think if you're looking for a breakout guy, a guy to top his numbers from the previous year, I think Alec Bohm is easily your best bet. And I think his numbers will go up across the board offensively this year. And oh, by the way, he played better defensively in the last month and a half of the season because he, like Rhys Hoskins, was not good at his position defensively up until late last year. So I hopefully that trend continues, that he plays a very good third when he's over there.
All right, last thing with the position guys here. Over under May 31st. Over under May 31st. Bryce Harper back in the lineup.
Yeah, was that amazing over the last couple of weeks? Dombrowski comes out and says, well, we're going to try and avoid putting him on the 60-day disabled list. Excuse me, he's supposed to be out to the All-Star game. Why wouldn't you put him on the 60-day disabled list and get yourself an extra spot on the 40-man roster? I hope that wasn't just them being overly optimistic because they thought that's what the fans wanted to hear. And Bryce could actually be back by end of May, early June. Either way, when you said it, May 31st, if he's back June 2nd, I'm not going, oh, damn, he's over. That's still a month earlier than anybody thought he was going to be back. So just the fact that it is trending in the right direction, if they're giving us honest updates on how his rehab is going and how quickly he can be back, the Phillies are in a much better position, and it looked like they were going to be all off season.
All right, let's talk some arms right here. Aaron Nola, they're apparently not going to be talking about a new contract once the season starts. Do you think that they will introduce a little conversation when the season starts, or is that too much of a distraction?
You put the call into the agent, just say, hey, we're willing to talk. If you want to talk, we'd like to pick it up again. And if the agent shuts you down, you say, all right, we'll talk at the end of the year. So you keep the lines of communication open. Here's the good news for Philly fans. Because when you have a negotiation, it doesn't go well, and one of the two sides or both sides agree to shut it down, sometimes you worry about the player, and he's thinking about it. He's worried about it. Why couldn't we get this done? Maybe they don't like me as much as I thought they did. I'm not really worried about that with Aaron Nola because he's such a laid-back guy to begin with. He is just, you talk to him, you have to check him for a pulse. He is so calm, cool, and collected that I don't think he's going to let it get inside his head at all. I think he'll just go out and perform. If anything, I think a little extra added motivation that he could be adding to that bottom line with a big season. I don't think that will be an issue for the Phillies. I hope they get him signed. I hope they get it done. But I actually think Aaron Nola is going to pitch well enough that whatever the number they're discussing right now, it might be the up by the time they get around to it again 6 months from now.
Will we see Andrew Painter in this rotation by, I'll just say, the All-Star break? Do you think he'll be in there by then? If not, when?
I have no idea. The only thing I do have an idea about, and I've been saying this for the better part of 3 months now, I actually thought the Phillies mishandled Andrew Painter during this offseason.
Wow, okay.
They put a little too much on his plate. That Dombrowski talked him up a blue streak, and there's a spot open in our rotation for him. If he comes in, does what we think he can do, we're taking him north with us on opening day. Kid's 19. And I know he was great last year. He just kept moving up from level to level to level, and he dominated everywhere we went. And even if your evaluation was as good as they told us it was, you keep that to yourself. You don't need to air that. The Phillies went to the World Series last year. If you're worrying about adding extra fannies to the seats, well, your results last year jumped your attendance plenty. They didn't need to put extra pressure on Andrew Painter. Now, he got hurt. Do I know he got hurt because he was trying too hard? Because he says, damn, I'm 19. I can make it to big leagues. I don't know that. Only Andrew Painter knows that. But I just, sorry to be critical, but I thought the Phillies were a little bit too optimistic and got the high hopes up a little bit too much on Andrew Painter. So now it actually can be advantageous. Then go real slow with the kid. Take all the time you need, bring him along slowly, watch all the innings he's going to pitch at the minor league. You can basically set his clock for when you think he can advance to the big leagues. And maybe he's pitching big games in September rather than big games in April. Usually a guy goes down with a pretty big injury. Oh, my God, that stinks. No, it actually could work out in the Phillies' favor.
Mm-hmm. All right, it's interesting you say that because one of the things I loved about the offseason was you never hear it from a Phillies front office member, let alone the president of baseball operations about, oh, yeah, that young kid in the minors, he'll be up, no problem. That was more or less what Dave Dombrowski was doing in the offseason, as you alluded to.
And it didn't quite work out. So
go figure.
Don't look for that to be the Mick Abel story or the McGarry story. Oh, no, they learned their lesson. When it happens, it happens. You can pump the stuff out of the kid at that time. Don't need to do it in advance.
All right. Before we get to some fun stuff here, I want to ask you this question. What is the number you have in mind when talking about the Phillies, and how does their season end?
Last night on my WIP show, I threw it out there, 5-part question for all the Phillies fans. 87.5 wins. They won 87 last year, so they got to be better. Over 87.5, I say over. Will whatever that number is, 88, 89, 99, will that be enough to win the National League East? I fear not. I don't think the Braves and the Mets are coming back. They finished 14 games out last year. The Mets and Braves tied with 101. They were 97. That's a gulf. That's even with the addition of Trey Turner. I don't know that either the Braves or the Mets come back that much. I think someone other than the Phillies will win the division. Does it get them in the playoffs as a wild card team? Yeah, it does. 87 got them in last year, and they'll be more than 87 this year, so they're in. Can they win the National League? They showed they can do it in the playoffs. So, yeah, I think there's one other very good team in the National League, better than any of the teams in the National League East, which I think they're going to have a tough time getting past, and that's the Padres, who they handled last year in the playoffs. But I just like that San Diego team. So I'll put the Phillies with anyone other than the Padres in the National League this year.
All right, fair enough. Last thing for you as far as this Phillies squad goes, when it comes to a home run leader, does it go to Kyle Schwarber again?
Yeah. But I'll give you the other guy. We already talked about Bohm. He will be up significantly from what he hit last year. I'm on the Trey Turner power bandwagon. Everybody loves Trey Turner because he fields, he hits, he can run the bases, might lead the National League in steals. You saw all those home runs he hit in the WBC, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had 2 home runs in all of 21 at-bats in actual Philly spring training games. This is probably a more homer-friendly park than he's ever played in. Washington or LA, not near as much as Philadelphia. Oh, I think Trey Turner can hit 30 this year. Count me in as a Turner 30 home run guy.
Okay. Generally speaking, thumbs up, thumbs down to the new rules.
Like him, the pitch clock was necessary, and they needed to put it in the game. If it's handled correctly, and the umpires, there'll be a learning curve with the players, pitchers, batters, everybody else. There'll be times, sure enough, the first week in spring training, they end the game on a violation. Jason Stark, our buddy from The Athletic, had the greatest term, called it the clock off. We have walk-offs. There was a clock off in spring training, which, yeah, everybody went nuts over. They'll get all the bugs worked out of it by the time the season gets underway. And if they have to adjust, they will. By June, we'll all have forgotten that the play clock is even involved. So I love that. I'm okay with the no-shift rule. It's going to help the Phillies because I think it's going to help Kyle Schwarber. I think the larger bases has been woefully over. Oh, my God, stolen bases are going to be up by 25%. It's 4.5 inches. Stop it. So for the most part, yes, I think the rule changes will make the game quicker, better, and I like them.
All right. Now, on the show, you're a first-time guest, not only just on Jacob Media for me, but you're a first-time guest of the Farzy Show in general. Can I throw the Farzy 5 questions at you? The Farzy Show 5. Here we go. Let me just bring in the band real quick. They've been off all day, guys. You want to get all right? All right, here we go. First question, Farzy Show 5. Best job before you were a broadcaster, and you could not say working in the mailroom at ESPN with Frank Godelli and Drew Esikoff.
Oh, you know my background all too well. Very good, Mr. Farzetta. No, prior to that, 2 summers, I worked as a concessionaire on the beach at Rye Playland. So the work stunk, pouring sodas, cooking hot dog. Oh, the view was tremendous. Ooh. Absolutely tremendous on the beach at Rye Playland.
Very interesting. I'm sure it was. Go-to fast food place, Jody McDonald.
Mickey D's. It's got the best name ever, so why would I go anywhere else other than McDonald's? Come on. That's a layup, Farzetta.
Keep it in the family. Keep it in the family.
I could only wish that were the case.
Favorite city to travel to? You've been all over the place, Jody McDonald. Favorite city to travel to?
Oh, that's a good one. Done Chicago a couple of times, and every time I went, had a great time. Never did Chicago in the winter because, hey, I'm smart. But out there for summers, for Cubs games, sitting in the bleachers, Wrigley Field. I've never had a bad time in Chicago, so that's where I'd go.
There you go. All right. Now, I know you're a very happily married man, but back in your dating days, what would be a first date deal breaker? First date deal breaker.
Deal breaker. I thought you were going to say deal maker. No, because I had one of those. Take your new girl to Shea Stadium, sit in the general manager's box, and impress the snot out of her. So, I used that one. Oh, yeah, that was one card I had up my sleeve that I played a lot with potential.
Did you ever play it down like, hey, you just want to go to a game? I got some tickets. And then, surprise, we're in the GM box?
No, most of them knew ahead of time that my father was the general manager of the Mets. So it couldn't go down the surprise route. It was just, hey, we'll do this type thing.
Okay, there you go.
Deal breaker? Yeah, she was just I hate sports girl. If she was indifferent, I'm okay with it. I can work with indifferent. Mm-hmm. Honey, I want to stay home, watch a little basketball tonight. What do you mean basketball? Why can't we watch The Bachelor? Oh, no, see you later. Bye.
Hit the bricks. You know what I'm saying? All right. Last one. Jody, you're one of my favorite people I've ever worked with, and you're one of the nicest guys you could ever come across. But what makes Jody Aloysius McDonald beep his horn in traffic?
Beep his horn?
What makes you beep your horn? What makes you beep your horn? Is it just out of safety? Is it out of anger? What makes you beep your horn?
Wow, I got no friggin' idea what you're trying to get at with that.
I'm just saying, like, we all have those moments where somebody swerves in your lane a little bit, somebody cuts you off, somebody's down on their phone. What makes you beep your horn?
I never beat my horn.
You're a no beeper?
No beeper.
A
No.
non-honker.
No. If somebody cuts me off, somebody's stupid enough to do something like that, I'll swerve into the slow lane, go by them, and give them a finger or two while I'm at it. But yeah, no, forget the horn. When you can go to personal showing of displeasure, I'll do that over just hitting my horn.
There you go. All right, now that is okay. You might have just beat Taryn Hatcher for the greatest answer to that question.
Okay.
Like, forget. Taryn said any minor inconvenience, still beep her horn. You're like, screw the horn. You get the middle finger.
I got a better way to display my displeasure. And if I'm in any conversation with Taryn Hatcher, you're talking to one happy guy. I'm losing that one 19 out of 20 times. If there's 1 out of 20 that I'm in the same conversation with her, I'm a winner.
Noted. Guys, we can cut the music. Oh, thank you. Oh, way to go. Guys.
Cut down the band.
Jeez.
Keep playing about it. Why shut off the music?
All right, we'll keep it going, guys. You want to pick it up? You guys are hot today.
Yeah.
Wow. His name is Jody Aloysius McDonald. Jody, it's always great catching up with you, man. So much. Catch him on 365 right here on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Catch him on WIP, CBS Sports Radio. Catch him with Mac and Mac. That's Glenn Mac now. Catch him with the other Mac and Mac, Birds 365, with our friend Johnny Mac as well.
I'm a Mac and Mac guy all over the place.
Jody McDonald, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, Jody.
Farzy, we'll get you back on Birds 365 soon enough. Congrats on the new show here. Well, the new old show here on the Jacob Media platform. And we know you'll be giving us a good lead in every single day. So thanks in advance for that.
I'll be doing my absolute best. Jody McDonald. Thanks, brother. That is the greatest answer. I will text Taryn Hatcher later today, and I'll say that finally someone has trumped her any minor inconvenience to the question, what makes you beep your horn in traffic? Because I am definitely more along the lines of Taryn than I am Jody. Jody's a New York guy originally, I believe. So the middle finger is not as far a cry for the, I guess, New York blood. Beat my horn? What am I, a pansy? I'll go up there and give the guy the middle finger. Oh, damn. I love Jody McDonald. I really do. And I'm embarrassed that it's the first time he was on this show. But again, who better to have on our maiden voyage on not only the Farzy show, but their maiden voyage on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Hit subscribe for your fine selves, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead and do that. Birds 365, by the way, coming up on Jacob Media. So don't miss that. Hey, let me tell you about Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped, skin-safe technology. I'll tell you all about it. Manscaped, you'll enjoy the Platinum Package 4.0, which is their best hygiene bundle yet. It includes their lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. It includes their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, they do come with skin-safe technology that helps you reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. At manscaped.com, you can use promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Let me tell you about Freestone Farm CBD, freestonefarmcbd.com. You like CBD? You use CBD? Do you enjoy CBD? You want to try a different CBD? Try Freestone Farm CBD at freestonefarmcbd.com. You'll love the tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%. And Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off at freestonefarmcbd.com. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's phlsportstation.com. Here's how the chat check's going to work. We got two going on here. We got the Jacob Media YouTube channel. We got the Farzy Show YouTube channel. I'm going to be going back and forth to both. Just on our first day on Jacob, we got my man, Boss Media and Entertainment. What's up, Boss? Thanks for joining the show. Nice to see you. Hop on over to Farzy Show, where I got some of my loyalists. Nice to see you guys. Kevin, what's going on? T-Bro, opening day. Let's go. Farzy on time. Let's have a day, my good people. Yes, for many reasons. Technical difficulties, whatever it might have been, hitting a later audience. We started the show a little bit later, 6:10, 6:15, 6:20. It's a shame to say, but we'll be right on 6 o'clock now that we have another YouTube channel that we have to be, courteous to, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. Can't be dragging our asses here. Can't be off schedule. Got to be on time. But T-Bro, good morning to you. A, hello, A. Good morning. Let's go, Phils. Let's go, Phils, indeed. Sean Gillespie, what's up, Sean? Sean Kilrain, what's up there, Sean Kilrain? Good morning, Farzy and everyone. I see Schwarber bombs today, meaning home runs. Today, let's go, Phillies. Let's go, Phillies. Michael Sauter? I'm going to go Sauter. What's going on there? Sautier? No. All right. Play ball? You damn right. For the Sixers, this wasn't a scheduled loss. No, it was not a scheduled loss. Although their last home game where they got spanked by the Chicago Bulls, it had me a little concerned. They came back from a road trip. They got spanked by the Bulls. They came back from this road trip where they were getting spanked on the road. And now, that's a funny sentence to say out loud. And then they come back and they face the Mavericks. Mavericks were in control of the game for the vast majority. Fourth quarter. And then the Mavs became the spank-e. Yeah, so that's a lot of spanking going on this morning. All right. Hey, what's up, A? Again, Embiid and Luka is a pipe dream that will never happen, unfortunately. We're just talking. That's all. Like that, they were just talking. After the game, they were just talking. We're just talking. That's all it's happened. Just talk. April, good morning. April, morning, everybody. April. Sean. Wait, what? Okay. Sean Kilrain, here is your bold prediction. Big Nick. Come on. There's only one Big Nick in this city's history. We all know what we're talking about there. Rebounding in year 2 with some more pop. 20 home runs. 20 home runs. I don't know how many guys hit 20 home runs in Major League Baseball last year, but I know 20 home runs ain't what it used to be. Like Freddie Galvis hit 20 home runs one year for the Phillies, all right? You got to be a 25. For me to consider you a power hitter, you got to be a 25 to 30 home run. Like to highlight the idea that power is a big part of your game, you got to be a 25 to 30 home run type of guy. Like Rhys Hoskins was a power guy, hitting over 30 home runs. That's a power guy. Obviously, Bryce Harper, power guy. Kyle Schwarber, power guy. 13 home runs by Nick Castellanos last year, not a power guy. That, in today's baseball, a 13 home run hitter is a slap hitter, okay? That is no bueno. That's not good. I need at least 25 home runs from Nick Castellanos this year. I need 30 from Alec Boehm. Let's get nuts. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. 30 home runs from Alec Boehm. Give me 55 home runs between those two gentlemen as we wait with great anticipation for Bryce Harper to rejoin this lineup. Yeah, give me 55. Combine that. That's what I want to see here. So 20 home runs. I understand what you're saying. It's 7 more than he hit last year. You combine that with a 260, 270 batting average, and you got yourself a pretty decent bat. But from Nick Castellanos, I'm expecting him to hit 25 homers this season. Sean Kilrain. Oh, his number is okay, Sean. I'm going to give my number for the Phillies at the end. I'm not going to give it right now, but here's where I'm at when it comes to the Phils. Where you're at. You're at 96 wins for the Phillies. I'll just tell you this. I'm not that far off from you. Danny Ozarks liked the lineup too. Liked the set lineup too. Yes, he did. Michael, he absolutely did. Sean, Nick has to exercise the stank out of Ben Simmons' house he purchased last year. Did he actually? Yeah, he did purchase it, didn't he? God, what a burn a lot of sage. I know a lot of people were making that joke about Ben Simmons' house, Nick Castellanos buying it. Turner will benefit from the bases. He will lead he will lead the league in steals. That is quite possible. I agree, quite possible. What else do we have here? I am just hitting buttons. Every regular in my show knows this is a bad thing when I just start hitting buttons. What are you saying here, Professor Dutch? Michael's size does matter, apparently. Professor Dutch, Turner mashes. I believe he will mash. Make Nola an offer he can't refuse. I'm with Jody, and I said this earlier in the week. Here's where I'm at with Aaron Nola in the contract negotiations. Here's where I'm at. It's very simple. It's very easy. This only helps the Phillies. If Aaron Nola is having another contract year like he was last year, he's going to be pretty damn good. Jody mentioned the extra added motivation. Hell yeah, extra added motivation. He and Rhys Hoskins were supposed to have these contract building years, these years where, watch what they do because I really want to earn that big contract at the end of the season. If you had two guys with that, that's some pretty good stuff right there. That's some pretty good motivation. Now, unfortunately, you're only down to one, but that one is a key piece of your lineup. He's been a Cy Young candidate in his career. I think you get that type of season from Aaron Nola. You get that type of season from Aaron Nola, cha-ching. Saying you're not going to talk about the contract during the season, I never really buy into that. Like Jody said, there's always going to be the text or the email, or you're going to see the agent at some point during the season where, hey, we were kind of thinking along the lines of X amount of years, X amount of dollars. Just throwing it out there. You don't have to let us know now. Maybe that's the way it actually goes down with Aaron Nola. But still, nonetheless, I'm expecting another Cy Young candidacy from Aaron Nola this season, especially with it being yet another contract year. What else do we have here? Nick has to burn, hands down. Sean Gillespie, I agree with you. Professor Dutch, hello again. What is happening here? Stop doing that. Professor Dutch, just read the 2018 article on Farzy. Oh, the Philly Voice article. Yeah, kids, just keep working hard. Just keep showing up. That was a really nice article that Joe Santana-Laquito wrote. The only thing I didn't like was the headline. The heir apparent stuff, because that wasn't apparent that I was going to be the heir apparent, unfortunately, which is why I took off. Turner, what's going on there? Turner and steals. Damn right. He's got a steal. He's got a mash. All right, Professor Dutch, let's be nice. Wow, you guys are chatty today in the chat check here. Oh, Professor Dutch, thank you. I'm not a scumbag. That's a great compliment. I try not to be. It's how my mom raised me. Joey and Eleanor, how mom and dad raised me. Mihai, what's up, Mihai Sanchez? Opening day, ring the bell. Phillies 93 wins. They lose in the NLCS. Womp womp. Baum and Castellanos each hit near 30 home runs. All right, now we're speaking. Hopefully no cringe hype song. Padres over Blue Jays in the World Series. Wow, look at you there, Mihai. I just think the Padres are a bunch of choke artists. That's it. I can't. I know Jody likes them, and on paper they're great, and paper's great. Paper's amazing. Paper. But God, I hate the Padres. And I love the fact that the Phillies spanked them last year. Oh, I was just loving it. There's more spanking going on. I don't know what's with me today. But I hope they spent a whole lot of money to be terrible. Also, Phillies finished as the NL's 5 seed. They beat the Mets and the Braves in the first 2 rounds. All right, Mihai, that sounds like a nice job there. April, did you get a lock on the door? I did not get a lock on the door. For those just joining the Farzy Show for the first time, by way now of Jacob Media as well, I just moved recently, and I haven't necessarily built a new studio in the new house yet. So I am not exactly in a fortified location. All right, so Lil Toots, my daughter, Emanuela, who's 3 years old now, 4 in August, Scoozy, has found her ways to break into the studio on more than one occasion. So if you see a puff of a golden brown hair just come through here, just know that's Lil Toots making her presence known here on the Farzy Show. She's like that. She mugs for the camera. What can I say? I'm proud of her. Turner and Schwarber are going to be the team's MVPs this year, says Mihai Sanchez. I don't disagree with that. I think you're pretty dead on with that one. Mr. 89, what's up, all? I look for Taijuan Walker. Look forward to Taijuan Walker as a Philly. Me as well. And that brings me into Sean Gillespie. You two chat checking SOB. You hopped over to Jacob's chat. Say little MacGyver. There you go. Oh, and there's Kush. There you go. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to our morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, SkyMotorCars.com. I mentioned the 76ers are back in action against the Raptors tomorrow night. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off in South Philly. So I look forward to that game. Look forward to seeing if Joel Embiid and James Harden are still active for that game. See if they'll be up and actually playing in that game. That'll be fun to see. And then how about this? The Philadelphia Flyers, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I don't want to say I had anything to do with this, but I had a whole lot to do with this, okay? The Philadelphia Flyers are back at it tonight against the Ottawa Senators. They are in Ottawa tonight for a 7 o'clock puck drop. The Flyers go for 5 wins in a row. Just at the time you want them to tank for better draft stock, the Flyers are winning hockey games. Can you stop, please? Now, why are they winning? Well, I banged the drum on Saturday. Okay, the Let's Go Flyer. Bum, 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 bum. I banged the drum. And since then, just a winning streak has taken place. I believe they had already won 2 in a row at that time. They made it 3 in a row. And now they have the opportunity to make it 5 in a row, which is a nice little record there for the Flyers when it comes to this particular season. John Tortorella announced that the Flyers are going to be captainless again next year. That doesn't give me a lot of optimism about Sean Couturier, and it doesn't give me a lot of optimism about the Flyers showing any promise next year. Now, why should they? Danny Briere is most likely going to have the interim tag removed from his general manager title. He'll be running the show, and if Danny Briere is worth any ounce of salt that has been promised as far as his front office career, the first thing I'm doing, I think the first thing anybody is doing as the new general manager of this team is burning it to the ground and rebuilding. You can call it a process. You can call it a rebuild. Don't you dare call it a retooling, because there are no tools in that cupboard right now. The only tools you have in that cupboard, God forbid, I'm going to say this again and invoke another name for the Hinkie era, but the Sam Hinkie word, asset. You might have a couple of assets. Yes, one of those assets is Carter Hart. Would I hate to pass on yet another goaltender the way they passed on a guy like Sergei Bobrovsky? But even Bobrovsky didn't come in here with the amount of hype that a guy like Carter Hart came in here with. Yes, this is Flyers conversation we're having right now. It's going to be brief, but I'm just saying this. Yes, great. Winning game's fine. But when it comes to the very near future, it's going to get so much worse before it gets better for the Flyers. It's going to get so much worse. Captainless ship again next year. I know they say it doesn't really matter that much in hockey, but they've been doing it forever for a reason. There's something to it. John Tortorella is the captain of the Flyers by default. And I'm just saying, the way I bang the drum and the way they win, maybe I'm the captain of the Flyers. I think that's actually how it works. Let's get to opening day here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to the Phillies and what they got going on this season. Yeah, Flyers, Senators tonight, 7 o'clock. In Ottawa, 7 o'clock puck drop. We'll see how that goes in Ottawa tonight. The Phillies, ladies and gentlemen, start their season 4:05 this afternoon in Texas. They have their first 6 games of the season on the road before coming home next week for their home opener. Here's where I'm at this year with the Phils. The Philadelphia Phillies, the number I'm going to give them. I have heard a lot of people talk about wild card. You've talked about Jody McDonald, we had him on the show just today, talking about how this team will sneak into the playoffs in a wild card, not good enough to beat the Braves, not good enough to beat the Mets, and they certainly struggled against the Mets last season, as we all know. But this team, the thing we're forgetting about is the 1-2-3 punch they have in their starting rotation. We've talked about Kyle Schwarber. We've talked about Nick Castellanos. We've talked about Alec Bohm. We've talked about Trey Turner. We've talked about the bats in this lineup. Like Brandon Marsh, even as a defensive, quote-unquote, center fielder, showed you could hit for a little bit of average as a member of the Phillies last year. That's great to see. But where the difference will be made, I think, is something that we're all taking for granted. Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, and Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker is a hell of a pitcher. He's not Aaron Nola. He's not Zach Wheeler. But if he's your number 3 starter, you got a couple of horses there as your 1-2 punch in that rotation. We'll see what comes up with Ranger Suarez. We'll see if we get Andrew Painter on this rotation before the season's out. But the Phillies have a hell of a lineup that we've talked about a lot. We haven't talked a lot about what they have going into this season with this starting rotation. And that is, I think, what puts them over the edge. This is why I think the Phillies, aside from this lineup that we'll take for granted, this is why I think the Phillies will win 98 games this season. Problem is the Braves probably 101, probably the Mets will be 105. That's what I see the Mets doing. But when it comes to this Phillies squad, I think you're looking at a 98-win season for the Phillies. They'll do that because they can mash with this lineup. They'll do that because they got three horses right there in your starting rotation. The question is, how good will this bullpen be? Kimbrel was added to this bullpen. Strahm was added to this bullpen. Opportunity to have him as an opener as a couple of different occasions will arise this season. I hate that term, but now I know how my grandfather felt when the term middle reliever or long reliever came into usage. He's an opener. He's not a starter, but he's an opener. But you've loaded up with some veteran arms in the bullpen. We've seen it before with the Phillies. We have seen it not work out more often than not. What do these guys have left in the tank? What does a guy like Kimbrel have left in the tank? When it comes to being your closer, when it comes to being your setup man, when it comes to being a guy for the later innings, what does he have? What does this bullpen have as a whole? They have again stocked up on some veteran arms in that bullpen. What are they going to bring to the table this year? Are they going to be Taiwan Walker? Are they going to be Yari's Familia? What are we going to see here? Are we going to see guys that can actually close out games? Are we going to see guys that can hold leads? Are we going to see guys that, while your starting pitcher gives you 6-7 scoreless, they're going to be guys that can continue to keep the runs off the board? While you get that big swing from Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, how are they going to perform this season? Those are the X factors I'm looking at for this year. That's what I want to see the Phillies come into this season and prove that they can not only have the good starters, not only have the hot bats, but have guys in the bullpen that can make sure they're holding on to leads and keeping runs off the board. If they do all that, you could talk about a 100-win season. But as of right now, I'm looking at this season, I believe, yes, optimistic, but also realist. You can look at this lineup in the rotation and say 98 wins. The improvements that they made in this offseason, how they exceeded expectations last year, made it to a World Series. They'll compete for the division. They're not going to be 14 games out of first place this year. They're not just going to squeak into the playoffs thanks to a new playoff expansion. It's not going to happen this year. They're going to be a playoff team for the vast majority of this year. Oh, and if they do get off to a hot start, you only add a 2-time MVP to this lineup. Not many pitchers, no matter how great they are, want to face Turner, Schwarber, Harper to start out a game. And my gut is telling me that by the end of May, you're going to see Bryce Harper taking swings in this Phillies lineup. It's not going to be the dry swings that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It's going to be him mashing, him driving in runs. It's going to be him hopefully out there in right field again, sparing maybe somebody else, giving somebody else the opportunity as a DH. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for that you see this season. It's not just optimism. It's not just crossing my fingers, but it's saying that this team can go out there and do some damage. 98 wins for the Phillies. Enjoy opening day. 4:05 start time. Nola versus DeGrom. Jim Hyden produced this show, as did Xander Kraus. Great job. Jacob Media, thanks for having me. Be back with you guys tomorrow. Mark Zumoff will join the show tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you tomorrow. See ya.